Okay, so we have our reader navigation here. Where is that going to be called? Well, because the reader navigation will encloses all of our destinations, all of our navigation, all of our composable screens and so forth, that needs to be called inside of our main, right? So if I go to main screen or main activity, that is, somewhere here that needs to be called. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this stuff that we don't really need. For now, let me go ahead and add a modifier as well. Fill max size, to say that this will just fill the max size for both ways, the height and the width. And while I'm here, I'm just going to head and say padding, top of about 46 dp. Okay, we'll see that in action later. Okay, so there we go. So in our surface, this is where we're going to add, of course, the actual navigation. But I'm going to do this a little bit differently because we want to separate the concerns here. I'm going to create yet another composable here called Reader App. And in fact, I'm going to get all of this inside here, because that's what we need. Let's remove that padding because we don't need that for now. We can always change that. And then inside here, I'm going to create a column. Okay, I'm going to say vertical arrangement. I'm going to say center. Everything has to be in the middle. And horizontal, oops, that has to be inside of our properties. So horizontal alignment. I want this center horizontally, such. And then here is what I'm going to call reader navigation. Okay, and of course, that's reader app. It's going to be called inside here. So reader app as such. Okay, let's make sure we don't have any issues. And that's okay because we don't have the gridding anymore. All right, so this is how we have now set up our reader navigation to be the center of everything, right? You notice in our main activity now, we don't have much, right? We just call the reader app, which indeed calls the surface, creates that surface, and then we have the reader navigation enclosed. Now, the beauty here is that, let me get rid of all of these other screens and make sure that our reader splash for now. I'm just going to add a text that says splash screen as such. Okay, so you can see now, because we have everything set up in our reader navigation, we know the starting point in our navigation here. The starting start destination is going to be screen search. Actually, it should be splash screen. That's a mistake, not search screen. There we go. All right, that was my mistake. That's fine. We fixed it. So the start destination has to be the splash screen. What it means then is that when we run this app, if all things go well, we should see the splash screen showing, which means it's going to be our reader splash screen with this text. Is that true? Well, let's hope so. Let's run this. All right, there it is. You can see it says splash screen because that's the first starting point, the first destination we added into our reader navigation there. So this is real good. That means everything is working. If you don't see this splash screen, then something is not right. Make sure you look at the code, make sure everything is set up, dependencies and everything. Okay, but you should be able to see that now we have our splash screen. It should show as the first composable, the first screen that needs to be shown here. Okay. Now take a moment to look at this, because if structuring everything like we did here, it's going to help immensely, as I said, because if you end up with an app that has a lot of different screens, it's much easier to structure it this way. That way we know exactly where all of our screens are, right? In our reader navigation, of course, we created the nav host, nav controller, but most importantly, if we go to our reader screens, right? This is where we added all of them to set them up. That way we're able to use them whatever we want to use them. Okay, and again, as things grow, you can add as many screens as you want. We have just one place where we can go and get the screens. Obviously, as I said earlier, you could have just added the string names directly like that. But then that would mean every time we want to, for instance, go get our composable or change something here, we have to come here and write them and write the string ourselves. Okay, so having one place where we have all the string names, in this case in an enum, it just helps immensely, as you see. Okay, very well. So we're able to at least get the navigation set up, which is really good, and we are now ready to move on and put together the actual splash screen.